Well, hello everybody, did this make it better? And today we're doing what if Deku was a Ghost Whisperer, part 11 or 12. One of those two, I actually forgot. But, let's get into it, onto the story. Last time I left off was Zuko sh- um, asking for Gran Torino his hand and turning invisible to be intangible again. And Gran Torino felt a little weird, but he looked to the kid and asked, did it work? And Zuko glances over to Nana Shomura, which she well, Gran Torino sees her long hair, her hero outfit, and her smile that she used to do. With the excitement, he let go of Zuko's hand and gave her a hug, but sadly, it passed right through her. But he was able to see her because it only works for Nana. It didn't really work for Gran Torino. It just made it seem like that. Nana was trying to reach out and hug on Gran Torino because a very old friend, almost real close. I'm not sure what was their relationship with each other, but I think they were like best friends or more, but I'm not even sure anymore. No, she had a child, which means, yeah, they're very best friends. Basically, child best friends. I think that would be good. All about best friends. Now, when she does, Zuko grabbed on tired to her hand and said, Wait, wait, if you let go of my hand, I have to do that over again, and it's annoying. So she said, Oh, okay. Zuko grabbed on, held on, and just let them both talk to each other. Gran Torino is sad to know that, try to apologize as much he can because of how badly he couldn't protect her and All Might to protect and to defeat One for All. Him with himself, by himself. I mean, which she applies and agrees. She also thanked him for everything else that he has been doing for All Might, especially all those beatings. And Gran Torino gets a little flustered by this. So you were here the whole time watching me? She said, yeah, basically everything. And Gran Torino is thinking one certain instance. And Nana said, no, I never went to your restroom. And Gran Torino just sighed in relief. After that, they go focus on Zuko. Zuko is the ninth holder, and Nanda informed him that that this power cannot be passed down any longer. Zuko explained, "Well, I already knew that." They asked why. Zuko said, "Well, because my power mixed into One for All, I just felt like I can't pass it anymore. I can feel it in me, but I don't think it's passable anymore." Which they're a little confused by this, but they say okay. Zuko said, "Oh, and my master told me that I'm not allowed to pass it down to anybody else ever." They said, "Wait, you told this to somebody already? Who? And why did you pass it down? And why did you tell him?" And Zuko explained, "Well, his master, he already knew about it." And he started thinking more details to it, but it's all fuzzies. Which they promptly asked if they could meet his master, and Zuko said, "Well, he's out of the city right now. I really don't know where he is, but he does leave some information that I need to work on." Oh, I almost forgot. As he pulled out a red envelope from his jacket and gave it to Gran Torino and asked, he pointed to it and tells him, "This was a letter sent from my master to you." I really don't understand his quirk at all, but somehow he knows everything. It's it's a good thing just to say, just go with the flow with him. And he asked, on the envelope, it said like exactly what time and how to work with my quirk. In that due time, well, Gran Torino looks at his the envelope. That's a red envelope. Reads the time. See, it's going to be after this kid goes to sleep around 10 something, and so that would be a good time. So he put it aside and focus on Zuko's and his training. Basically, starts up a fight. Zuko said, "Oh, okay." He ready up. He has his hands glowing up because he was only. So basically, he gets a list of time to look through his drawer. He's very tempted to look at each and every one of those envelopes, but his master always tells him not to. And to the point where he's terrified if he disobey his master to do. So he waits until the next one was coming up. It basically rings on his phone, notificating him to pick up the next envelope that's on top of the stack. That's why he has it, but he doesn't have his master's actually giving it to him. Just to fill in that gap. Now, when Izuku was ready up, he let go of Nana and she disappeared. Zuko didn't really notice because he always can see her, but Gran Torino said, "Oh, I see." Uh, he forget about it and focus more on Zuko. So Zuko gets ready up and the fight ensues. Only picture I can find. Zuko jumped up when Gran Torino was flying towards him, but sadly got knocked down by Gran Torino again by flying all around the walls of his building, his home, hitting Zuko over and over again, which to a point where Zuko has to get used to all of this beatdown and remembered, finally, that he can phase through him. So he does. He phased through, and he's predicting some of the attacks, but every 2 times that Gran Torino phased through him, 2 times, the third one always hits him, which Gran Torino is adjusting his fighting style to fight Zuko, which Zuko has now had to think of other ways of fighting at this whole time. It goes on for a few hours until it's time for him to go to sleep. He goes to sleep, and Gran Torino finally reads the book, or the note. It tells him how to train Zuko properly and make him awaken another of his abilities. You guys should know all of the Danny Phantom abilities and some of the newer ones. So I'm hoping you guys can figure out what he is gonna awake next. So Zuko, for those weeks, well, days actually, I say 4 more days because I think it's the 5th that he had to fight Stain. In those 4 days, Zuko was training with Gran Torino very often, from day till the morning after breakfast, fighting until it turns to lunch, and then fighting again. And those time frames were for eating was 30 minutes. After that, Gran Torino immediately right when he threw away his plate, he tackled Zuko to the floor, making him choke it because his first breakfast, making him question what's going on. But Gran Torino stopped, tell him that it's training, chop chop, and immediately kept fighting against him. Now, that was what his master told Gran Torino to do. Make him alert at every second, every time, every moment that he thinks he's safe. Not laying his guard down, basically. To a point where Zuko had to always be aware of his surroundings, all the ways, looking all around the room, seeing small adjustments, small details that could affect all of this. To the point on the fourth day, Zuko is fluent with his movement, his fighting style, like Dandy Phantom, to a point where he's not even thinking of which quirk he should use or which ability. He just used it that will be perfect for going against Gran Torino. And when the one moment that he finally was about to blast some more energy wave towards Gran Torino said stop. Zuko stopped. He immediately stopped all of the power that was charging up in his right hand and going and disappear. Zuko stands up straight and asks, "Okay, what's going on? Is it dinner time already?" And Gran Torino said, "No, it's you complete your training." That last moment was the best way to test you. I can see now that your master is very knowledgeable about you, me, and everything else. He goes off for a bit on what exactly his master quirk could be, but he brushed it off, asked Zuko if he could make Nana appear again, which Zuko does. She is over on her favorite seat, and Gran Torino said, "So, what should I do next with his training?" Nana informs him that he still needs some field experience on working out in the city, which Gran Torino agrees and went and tells Zuko, well, basically turned to Zuko and tell him that he will be doing patrol tomorrow. But for today, how about you focus on yourself and any new abilities you may awaken? Your master said in a letter, Gran Torino was never supposed to say this, but he did. He said, your master said something of a chilling power of yours. I don't get what that could have been, but he said make him focus this, so you work on that and I'll work on the schedule tomorrow. Which promptly made Zuko go to his room and Gran Torino go to his room. Now Zuko's thinking about all of this, his new information. He always knows whatever word that his master says is something very important. So when his now master saying to focus on his chilling quirk, he thinks of his cold breath, and later learns that it could be a power of his that he needs to focus more on. So he's thinking of all the ghosts that he got possessed by and thinking if any of them had an ice quirk. And when he finally remembers which one, he fell asleep. Now Gran Torino, the next day comes. He awakes Zuko early and tell him to train for today. Zuko asks if he's going out or not. Gran Torino said no, not now, later in the night. That's where most crime happens. It's a good training. It's basically an excuse because Gran Torino didn't plan for anything, but knows that there's a lot of crime happening at night. That's his only excuse, basically. He didn't want to train for that. For the fifth day, Zuko does, and he focuses on his cold breath, forcing it out. Every time it just gets a little bit stronger, where at the point he feels his whole mouth feel like he's took a big chunk of cold ice cream that he just took out of the freezer, bit into it and left it in there his mouth. That's what it feels like. It feels terrible, but he kept pushing onward to a point where he was able to breathe out a little bit of, I was going to say frosted flakes, but snowflakes out of his mouth. And every time it touched on the ground, it stayed there for a moment and then melts. Which Zuko, it feels cold in his chest. So he needs to focus on that very feeling to pull it out. But it's only going out as small a gust of wind, which is something, but it's not a lot. Zuko's just happy that he's forcing out ability that he didn't think was there. He thought it was something else, but he needs to go back to the ghost and ask her what exactly, how did she use her power. Now he remembers her name, but I'm not gonna say it because I don't have a name for it. Let's move on. Now the time where they're over on the train, they're talking about where they're gonna start. Zuko asks if what is he allowed to do, and Gran Torino was about to say, but it was interrupted by a Nomu crashing into the train, making Gran Torino stop his sentence, attacking the very Nomu, knocking it out. And Zuko saying that that's the Nomu from USJ. Its weak point is that one, and when he pointed, he had the muscle memory already, so he pointed with a laser, shooting it straight through its brain and completely stopping it. Zuko saying, that's its weak point. Oh, shit. And Gran Torino said, okay, thank you, but you need to stay here and protect the civilians. I'm getting out there and fight against all those no moves? Whatever. And he went off. Zuko went and looked out in the rain of no moves going against heroes, all of them fighting against each other, trying to protect the citizens and against these no moves. Zuko can't take it looking all this fighting, some of the no moves taking down some of the heroes, but almost not killing them, just barely living, which made Zuko jump off of the very train, went to the ground in his ghost form. He is not like this. He's more like this, of course. He's not. He doesn't have that transformation. I'm not gonna give it to him. But he gets into his form, get more of a ghostly figure on his legs, and start flying towards each and every Nomu that was about to attack a civilian, and he killed it every time, shooting through his brain. The civilians were scared, but Zuko comforted them and pushed them towards a safer area. He did this to every civilian for the heroes to focus on their fight and not the civilians. To a point where some of them are happy that this new rookie is coming in to help them. They say rookie because they don't know if he's a student or not. But Zuko remembers what city this is, and remembers where Ida went to. So he decided to go over to that agency. As he was going to, he heard the yell from a distance and immediately flew towards it. He's going into an alley, and then when he makes a left and see Stain going down with his sword to stab on Ida, Zuko get enraged and threw a huge blast at Stain, not charging up, just a huge blast with his one hand open palm, pushing Stain back all the way to the other side of the alley. Zuko checked on Ida and see if he's okay, which Ida said he's okay, but he shouldn't be here. This is his fight, and you're not allowed to be in my fight. This is me and for my brother. This is for me and my brother, for me. And he keeps going and going until it finally reveals that he wants revenge for his brother, for all of the pain that he caused his brother. And Zuko promptly slapped Ida and tells him to focus. You're getting too much into rage. Look to your left and look to your right. What do you see? Ida gets a little shocked by this, never knowing that Zuko will hit that hard with just a slap. He looks to his left and then to his right, and he sees Manuel bleeding but not, unconscious actually. Ida sees this and said, "So what?" Zuko promptly slapped him again and tells him a hero is supposed to protect. It doesn't matter if you're here for revenge or actually being a good hero. You're supposed to protect. That's the first goal. Did you really forget that? Did you really forget how to become a good hero? Even if your brother was a pro hero, did you forget this? And Ida start to remember and start to have a flashback on how to become a good hero, giving advice by his brother. By in the all the way on the other end of the alley, Stain is hearing this from Zuko, asking, appreciating that Zuko is one of the good ones. He gets up in the rubble. Zuko sees this. Notice that he is not out for the out for the count. Zuko immediately charged up, flew straight towards Stain, giving him a huge punch in the face. Hopefully that will knock him out, but it didn't. It pissed him off, which Stain promptly pulled out his blades and start slashing towards Zuko, which Zuko starts to phase through them or turn intangible, phase through him. After appearing, he started hitting Stain again, and this going on and on, where Stain keeps throwing a bunch of throwing knives, swords, ninja stars towards Zuko, all of them going through him. But Zuko sees he remembered to always look to his surroundings and see those stars are not going to him. It's going to Ida, which made Zuko stop, fly right back to Ida, moving Ida out of the way and making sure those stars does not hit him, which went on the ground, sticking the landing where Ida was at. Zuko getting a little tired by this and asks Ida if he can fight. I don't think I can handle him by myself. Ida said, I can't move. I can't. And Zuko dodged. He felt a cold breeze coming and dodged instantly, moving his head lower down on the ground where Stain was trying to hit him with the back of his sword. Stain is talking to Zuko about how much of a good hero you are. You are worthy of for living after this encounter. You are almost as best and great as All Might. Zuko snapped back at Stain, saying, All Might is nothing what you are talking about. All Might should always protect, never kill. Correct? Stain? With a very assertive voice. And Stain said, yes. He's feeling proud that someone gets it, how each hero should be. And he's trying to say this to Zuko. But Zuko said, but if you're killing the future heroes on something of a small, minor difference, you're not correcting the world. You're making it worse. You're making everybody scared of something that they should look forward to. Stain is a little shocked by this and don't understand what he means. Even Ida doesn't understand, and he yells out, What? What are you talking about? And Zuko turns back at Ida and then back at Stain and said, if they don't know what they're going up against, they should never be a hero. If they go in for something else, it has to be a good reason, or everything will mean nothing to the very end. Which Stain feels conflicted because he's right. but he feels that he's right as well, and he says this out loud. How can no it's no well he and Stans kept going on like this, trying to say something but can't. He's conflicted because it's both right and starting to see all the wrongs that he did. Zuko is telling him this. So, you found the flaw in your logic? If you do, can you stand down and surrender? Which Stain said. He gets into a blind rage, saying that I am right and everybody around me is wrong. And through a blind rage, uh, running toward Zuko in immense speed, swinging his swords everywhere. Zuko is not dodging; he's taking the hits. His energy, well, it's not cutting him, but it's getting onto his skin. But it's right at that point, his energy blasts are covering his arms, which is melting the very metal. Stain doesn't know this, but he's still swinging with each of his swords. When it gets too light, he drops it and goes for the next one, but he throws it up in the air, which Zuko sees and uh, look right back down to Stain, which Stain threw another sword at Zuko, which Zuko had to dodge, but at that moment, Stain threw another one right behind it, hitting Zuko just glazing through his top right eye. Zuko, at that moment, phased right through. He He gets a little shaken by this. He's thinking to himself that he almost just died, but he remembers all the training that he gone through with Gran Torino, with his master, with All Might, and uh, all the advice that the ghost has given to him is living up to this moment. Zuko readies his footsteps, stopping down, holding himself up, and scream, yelling a ghostly howl in that one small area of the alley towards Stain that was just 2 yards away, pushing Stain out, pushing him all the way to the other side of the alley and knocking him out finally. It was such immense a power, uh, all right on his face, his whole body, that it pushed enough pressure to knock him out. Zuko was getting tired by this, and that was his last ditch effort. But without his knowing, a little bit of his ghostly howl became colder and made the whole area so cold that they're starting to shiver. And when they look over to Stain, Stain is covered in ice. Just a thin layer of ice, but enough to make it a cold to the touch. Zuko asks Manuel if he's awake. He awaken, and Zuko asks for handcuffs, which Manuel does. Manuel give it to Zuko, and with a shaky hand, and went right back to his wound, and still wincing in pain. Zuko sees that, removes the hand from Manuel, and charges his energy blast in his palm actually. Put his hand right on Manuel's stomach and just did some paddings. To Zuko, it was just paddings, but for Manuel, it was great pain of extreme heat touching his lower half. And Zuko is explaining that he's cauterizing the wound for no more blood to get through it. Which Manuel is just wincing in pain because it hurts. It hurts a lot. Now Zuko picks up is put Ida right next to Manuel and asks him if Ida can pick up Manuel, which Zuko. I'm getting confused with the names again. Which Ida promptly do. With the cold chill around him and being so close to Zuko with that ice blast, it cooled down some of his wounds that made him feel a little better. But when he went to Stain, see him fully knocked out, put the handcuffs right in front of him onto the two hands, and make sure everything was off. No weapons near him. And when the fighting was finally ending, and they heard a ghostly howl coming from the alley, all the heroes that were fighting against the Nomus that finally defeated them, especially Endeavor and his son, Todoroki, come by and see Zuko pulling on to Stain. Manuel had to explain to all the heroes that this kid, solo by himself, the number one hero killer, Stain. They're shocked by this, asking, is he a rookie? Is he a new hero? And his Todoroki's Endeavor said no. He is from the sports festival. He's just barely into high school. Which now the heroes are in shock that a high schooler did this. A high schooler defeated Stain. Now, because of all the attacks, Zuko scared that one Nomu that could fly away because it felt the vibrations and wanted to move out of that area as fast as possible. So it doesn't happen. Zuko puts Stain into the officer's car door and locked it. The officer drove away with Stain, which Stain is just mumbling that, oh my, it's the best hero. He shook away, scaring the officer, which is in a script, start moving around on the road, and Stain break through the window and yell towards Izuku, "What is your name? What is your name?" And Zuko replies that I am the Phantom, Zuko Midoriya. Stain, with that burst of energy, said, I got it. But that's all he can do. And he felt all his wounds in his arms, his legs, his torso, stomach, his back. He feels every single pain in it from the shock of the howl that he went right back down, not moving. Awake, but not moving, with a death stare towards the ground. And the officer immediately turned on his lights and went to the station. Now everybody sees this. Zuko is Midoriya is calling himself Phantom. Zuko Phantom. They're over now. Moving on to the next scene. Zuko's over in the hospital room with Ida. Not Todoroki because he wasn't in the fight. Just to show how strong Zuko really is. Ida is sitting there asking Zuko how did he find him. Which Zuko said, I was hearing, going over, I remembered how you acted towards Uraka and everybody else. I also remembered you were going to this guy Manuel agency for a fighting style, which I remembered he does not have anything of the sorts. So I decided to go over to his agency and see where you were. At that point, I heard a yell and the rest like that. Ida takes this note and said, oh, I see. Did I? Zuko said, if you're going to say, did you do the right thing? I say no, you didn't. Ida, taking this in, thinking how can he read his mind, Zuko said, I can't read your mind. I can read people. And you're taking the pain of your brother way too personally. Ida snapped back at Zuko, saying, "How do you feel if your family was taken down by some villain of this power, immense power, not able to stop it, not..." And he's tearing up, remembering how he see his brother on the bed, not moving, seeing the doctor telling him that he's not going to be able to walk again. And Zuko said, "Actually, I do know how that feels." Instead of one thing, two things happened to me. One, I was deemed quirkless in a young age, which Zuko, well, Ira, is stopped talking and listened to Zuko with a shocked look at Zuko, and Zuko said, "And ever since that day, my mother and father treated me as if I was never there, as if I didn't matter." Zuko goes on to say that, and one day he got into an accident. He passed out, but when he was awakened, the very next day his mother and father sold him off to a random man in a red coat. But I thought I was sold off to be an experiment or something worse. But luckily, he put up his hands to say quotation marks, "parents" didn't know that this man will be the very reason that I become this strong. Zuko explained his backstory, his life from that point with his master and living with his sister. And he explained that his sister acts as a mother figure and his master acts as his father figure. Knowing all of this, Ida, do you think I'm worthy of becoming a hero? Which Ida said, taking all this in as a shock, and said, "Yeah, I, yeah, you are worthy of being a hero." But Zuko said, "Now, if I went to a different role, became a villain, would you have said the same thing?" Which Ida stops and thinks about it. He looks over to Zuko and asks, "Why would that matter?" And Zuko explained, "Because Stain was talking about it. He could have had a very rough childhood, and becoming adult, seeing the bad in people, never seeing the good. I saw all the bad first, and if I wasn't shown any good, I could have been just like Stain. I could have been even worse. I could have been a villain. So that's why I take pity on anybody I go against. I never kill. No hero should ever kill. But seeing their eyes, seeing what they're talking about, it tells me what they truly are feeling." And Stain, he truly believes that every hero out there, as Zuko points towards the window and said, with with so much anger in his voice, Ira even start tearing up. And Zuko said, he truly believes that every hero out there was not worthy to become a hero, was not worthy to live any longer. Only All Might was strong enough. And that really hurts. Because I know people out there are like me, even you. We all have chances to be a great hero, but no one gives us a chance. Which is Ira just sits there silently, thinking that Zuko has bigger and deeper thoughts than he ever thought. He thought he was just a regular kid living his regular life, just like he did. But learning how bad Zuko's life was and seeing how bad it can be really changed Ira's mental state and starting to appreciate everything that his family done, everything that his friends in his past years was like, which made him change for the better. Now the dog came in explaining that he cannot have the fame or fortune or any of that for defeating Stain, which will be passed over to Endeavor, which Endeavor promptly refuses and said, I'm not taking any of credit from this young kid. I'll take all the blame from it. I'll say he was working direct orders of mine, but I'll never take his victory. Which the dog had to agree to it. So out there, his friends, his classmates, and a few other people learns that Zuko has defeated the hero killer Stain, one of the top scariest vigilantes out there. Now, let's move on, well, to everybody else. Everybody is doing everything of their accord, well, in their agencies and working. And when they heard the news, they just a little scared, but also impressed that Zuko was able to defeat him. And they just get more motivated and telling their bosses if they could train more, get stronger even more, and giving everybody a little bit more of a boost. Moving on to a next scene. Someone broke through a house. Well, broke through a gate, feeling creepy throughout the whole yard. As they moved closer and closer to the door, they broke it down, scramble through all the belongings, all the possessions, anything that could be a leverage. And when they finally went to one room and another, they see nobody. So they assumed that they came in the wrong time. So they decided to close the door and wait for the person, their target. I was going to do a cliffhanger, but nah, I'm going to keep going. Somebody finally walked through the door, the gate. It's usually always open, so they didn't mind it. But when they look over to the door, they see how it's crooked, and put get ready for a fight. The first person, as this person walked through, he sees a flashing light and promptly dodges from that, which was a bullet. Immediately ran towards that person, hitting him once on his groin, knocking him out in gruesome pain. The other two that was on the other sides, on the right and the left, the same person, went and struck down, making a split where the two villains came from the side, attacking, hitting each other on the face. They were low-level thugs, but they were assigned to take in this person. They believe this person. Zook, sorry, the master finally gets up, taking those two guys push and punch them straight in their jaws, making them knock out for the count, both of them, and put them aside. And the one guy that was still struggling and in pain, the master grabbed him by his collar and asked him, "Who sent you?" "We don't have any money." "Who sent you?" Which the guy was trying to say nothing, but he was more focused on his pain. Which the master, he grabbed onto the groins and that said, "Answer now, or these little ones will never exist." Which gave a very blank, ghostly face of the villain, and said, "This organization sent by this man, told to capture this person alive." The master nods, crushed them just enough to make sure the guy passed out in extreme pain, put them all three, wrapped them up in rope, picked them all up with one hand, and tossed them to the back. And they are stuck in there for a while. Until a few minutes pass, they wake up, and the master are hearing screams and terror for a few hours until it finally stops. And the master gets out, see the three men finally getting out of those um, rope, but getting trapped by ghostly figures. And they're so terrified that they all passed out again. The master finally picked them up, put him right in front of the gate, called the police force. They came, arrested him, and know that they are all wanted for something very serious. And at this moment, Zumi finally came in from grocery shopping. She looks and sees the officers taking all of these villains into their cop cars and driving away. She looks in confusion until she looks in front of the gate and see the master here. She excitedly ran towards him and giving him a huge hug and asked how long he's been here. And she did not get a reply. The master said to himself, "I hate it when I'm right." Now I'm going to end it for this scene. I hope you guys like it. Enjoy. And it's going to stop at 48 minutes and so on. For my videos won't go on. Sorry about that. Hope you guys enjoy it, and bye.